Why do we all feel like we have to have the same things on the same time frame, or like in the same timeline, when life is a journey? This is not this is not a race. I'm not trying to race to the altar, babes. If I don't feel like I'm ready for the altar, why am I racing to the damn church? Like, girl, babe, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. No. Hey guys, what's up? I'm back. I'm back for another video. I'm so like, I'm ready to just, I don't know, party. Anyway, let's not get all weird and stuff. I'm back. My name is Elisha, or you can call me Lai. I am doing a get ready with me today. I am going out to brunch at 2 o'clock. It's 10:44, so I'm getting ready. Yeah, I'm getting ready to go. I already did my hair. I did a high ponytail on my natural hair. I'm going to be talking about being single, having boundaries and standards, just a regular talk. I am starting out with the e.l.f. Lift Brow Pencil. I wanted to talk about this topic because I'm single. I'm single, and yeah, I'm 24 years old. I'm single, and I actually enjoy being single. I enjoy being single a ton. I love my peace. I love my serenity. I love like everything about being single. Like, I don't know, it's just amazing. And that's not to say like if you aren't in a relationship you don't have peace, because I very well know like there are relationships that do have peace, but a lot of relationships now I see today that are glorified are the ones that are like very toxic and like just struggle, and I just no ma'am. No ma'am. But I do believe that your relationships are supposed to give you peace. But I will say, like, being single in general, I have a lot of peace right now. But the reason I thought about this topic, I'm trying to like do this multitask, and I don't know, I might not be good at this. But anyway, the reason I thought about this topic was because every time I talk to people and we get on the relationship subject or like any kind of subject like that, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like I'm really happy being single, I love like my singleness, or like they'll ask me like, oh, have I been on any dates, have I been looking for anybody? I'm like, oh, I'm not really like interested right now. Like, I'm not really at that point in my life to where I feel like, oh, I want to be dating, or like I just want to be like, you know, like, and I know like when you're single you can date and still be single, obviously, but I'm at the point where I don't even feel like dating. Like, I'm just like, oh, you know. I'm at this point where I don't feel like dating, but I wouldn't mind going on a date, but I don't feel like it, so I don't really entertain anybody, because I just feel like it probably won't lead to a date, because I am the queen of being like, I'm not going. Which is bad. So like I just don't even like take nobody's number down anymore. I don't feel like that's something that's a big priority in my life right now, or like something that I'm like, oh my god, I need a man, or like I, you know, like, it's cool to want a man, but do I need one right now? Nah. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm excited. I love this point in time in my life at 24 where I'm just like doing my own thing, but I still like, it's so weird because I still feel like I'm in my feminine energy even though I'm like single, if that makes sense, because I have a lot of peace. And I think like maybe I don't know, but like I feel like I still feel like I'm always in my feminine energy because I have a lot of peace. I don't know, and I got my dad, you know. I also have my dad, so I'm just like, any masculine thing, and I have brothers, so I'm like, any masculine thing, like, I'll just ask them. But like, that's besides the point. What am I trying to get at here? Other people, like, they'll be like, what? You haven't been dating? You haven't been, like, trying to find somebody? Like, what? And I feel like they'll be so shocked about me not, like, dating or, like, finding nobody or knowing anybody. Like, they'll be so shocked. Like, they would just be like, why? Like, I feel like people think that I'm weird or something because I don't actively, like, look for a guy. Okay, and so, yeah, they'll look at me weird, like it's just weird, like I'm supposed to be having a ring on my finger or something. And I'm like, yo, I'm 24. Like, I know people in their 30s who aren't even, like, don't even have a man or, like, or in any kind of relationship or anything. Like, relax. Like, it's not a race, it's a journey. But yeah, I'm like, relax, y'all. Like, this is not a race, it's definitely a journey. And like, why does it matter if, like, I am not actively looking for a partner? Like, why is it like when you're like a teenager, people are like, oh, don't be looking for men, like, don't be going, like, don't be dating, don't be going out with these guys, don't be focus on your books, boys will come, blah blah blah. But when you hit your 20s or your mid-20s, people like, where's the ring? But like, I thought you told me to focus on my books. Like, what? Like, why do people be like, oh yeah, where's your ring? Like, why aren't you married? Or why aren't you in a relationship? Or is there something wrong with you? Like, and then when you tell them, like, no, I'm actually, like, happy, you know, I'm happy, like, where I'm at right now. I'm not really, like, trying to force anything to happen or whatever. They're looking at you like, girl, what? Like, you're an alien or something. Like, the world is not going to explode if me, Elisha, does not have a man. Like, the world is not going to explode. And if it does, I'm gonna just be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go about my happy day because I'm still really happy doing, like, you know, like, do you see the smile on my face? Like, I cannot make this up. Like, I cannot make this up. I don't feel, like, bad about any of this. Like, even if, like, I just don't. But yeah, that brought me, like, to this question of, like, why is it that, like, people feel like when you don't have this one thing in your life, like, that you're lacking in, like, something, or that you need to be actively looking, or like you're crazy for not wanting it in your life right now. Or not necessarily that you don't want it, but that you're just okay, or you're content with your life or how it is right now. Because I wouldn't say, like, it's not something that I don't want. It's just something that I'm, like, not really actively, like, pursuing in my life right now. Like, I feel like more so I'm working on my career, I'm working on, like, the things that I want to work on, and that's what I'm more focused on. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, you know? Like, if that's what I want to be focused on, that's what I definitely want to be focused on. Yeah, I've been single for 3 years now, and like I said, it's been the most blissful, peaceful, confident thing I've ever done in my life, I think. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but being single made me confident. It made me love myself a lot more. It made me start putting myself first. It made me start doing, like, things that I never thought I would do or could do. When you're single and you intentionally try to, like, be confident and find yourself and, like, have a whole lot of self-love, you, like, look back at past relationships and things that you used to do, and you be like, oh my god, like, that wasn't really smart, or, like, you know, I need to do better with that. And the one thing I will say about being in relationships that are good is that, like, that is good is that you find you learn so much about yourself when you're in a relationship. You learn so much about how you, like, love. You learn so much about how you communicate. you just learn so much about like if you're toxic or not. Like you learn so many things about your childhood too, because like how you're acting could be a result from your childhood or whatever. Like there's so many things like that relationship could teach you. But when you're out of like I think if you, this sounds so cliche but it's so true, like if you don't love yourself, like you cannot love somebody else. Like it's so cliche but it's so true. I never understood it until I got older and I like sat here and like I started to really like be alone with myself out of that relationship, just like alone, and be like, yeah, like that is so true. Because like how could I like love somebody else if I'm pouring from an empty cup? Or how could I love somebody else if like I don't know how I want to be loved, or like I don't know how to love, or like any of that. Like, you know, through my single season, I figured out like my love language. I figured out why I do the things that I do. I was able to like heal, like all these other things that you can do when you're not in a relationship. I mean, you can do them in a relationship too, but it's very hard to see yourself sometimes when somebody is like in your face 24/7. Like I feel like you can get to know yourself way more than in like anything. Like you can get to know yourself in a relationship, but it's much different. Like I just feel like it's way different than when you're single and you're isolated and you're just like getting to know who you are. Because I've seen people do it in like relationships, but I'm like, why not do it before, you know, before you get into a committed relationship? And I say this, and I'm not saying you can't do it during a relationship, but I feel like I said earlier, like a lot of women stop a lot of the things that they want to do for a guy. So like they'll stop doing certain hobbies, or they'll stop like doing like caring for themselves, or they'll stop like giving like self-care and all these other things. And like if you're in a relationship right now and you're doing those things, that is amazing, because like a lot of women don't do that. I know when I was younger, I didn't do that. I stopped like caring about certain things that I loved, and I stopped everything. But now that I'm single and I recognize that and I'm aware of that, I'm like, oh my god, that is like something that's a part of like loving myself. And that's what I mean by like being single has helped me to love myself a lot more, because like I was able to like sit back with myself and be like, okay, Elisha, like what are the things that you love? And I realized like after my relationship, I started going back to things that I always used to love to do. And that led me, and I think that's what also brought me peace and made me feel very feminine, is like the fact that I can sit up here and create and do the things that I wanted to do. And now that I was single and I was able to like get to know that part of me, I feel like I'm whole enough to get into a relationship and not stop those things, because I found myself. And that's where I'm trying to get at, is when you're single, you're able to like find yourself. You're able to like, when you're like isolated from like not even just relationships but friendships too sometimes, like you are able to sit back with yourself and be like, damn, what do I like? You know, like, because sometimes people can influence what you like or what you like to do, or like things that you feel like, you know, aren't cool but you like to do it, but your friends don't feel like it's cool. Learn to like love yourself and like know yourself and get to like recognize signs like that, and like recognize how you want to be treated and how you want to be loved. And I was able to do all of that when I'm still single, but like I was able to do like all that with being single. I was able to recognize things from my last relationship that I needed to work on myself, because I know I needed to work on some stuff. I know I needed to love myself a lot more than I did before, and I was able to do that in my single season. And also like I'm even talking to people that like feel like hopping from relationship to relationship is like a good thing, and it's really not, because if you like get out of a relationship and you don't heal and you don't recognize like the things you could have done better with, or the toxicness that you might have been in, or maybe you weren't in a toxic relationship but you just need to heal. Like, if you don't recognize like the areas you could have did better in, how do you expect to get into a relationship, like a good one, where it's like flourishing and the person's treating you right and all of that? Like, how do you know how you want to be treated if you've always been in a relationship every single time and you've been treated differently every time, or you've been treated the same every time, and you start to think that like, hey, this is okay, this is normal, but there are people out here like being treated way better than what you're being treated as like right now. And I feel like being single, I was able to like learn how to treat myself better, and I was able to learn how learn to love myself, love on myself, figure out ways that like that I like to love myself, like and not just like gifts, or like some of it was gifts, but like mentally figure out like ways to love myself, physically figure out ways to love myself, you know, giving myself words of affirmations, doing all of those things, and realizing like, hey, this is what I need from myself, you know. And I think in turn, like when you get all those things, you'll start to attract those things, because especially in a guy, because like, you know, like, hey, this is how I love on myself, this is how I show the love to myself, this is how, you know, I treat myself. And if you treat yourself good, you think you gonna allow somebody else to come up in here and treat you bad? No. But if you don't treat yourself good, and you don't know that you don't treat yourself good, what makes you think that you're gonna allow somebody to treat you well? And that's where that saying like, people treat you exactly how you treat yourself, like, it's true. Like, people really do treat you exactly how you treat yourself. And that's just saying like, I mean, I still feel like you can't control what people try to do to you, but you can always control how you react to that situation. And if I react to myself, like mistakes that I've done in like an unkind way, or I do things to myself that's like just disgusting, the word's not disgusting, but like just bad in general, like that means that I treat myself awfully. So like, once I get into a relationship, I treat myself bad, I'm gonna allow somebody else to treat myself bad because I'm not kind to myself, or I'm harsh on myself, or I don't know myself enough, or like know myself worth enough to be like, oh yeah, I shouldn't be treated like that, you know. So I feel like you start to feel whole without a relationship, because you're like, man, I got so many hobbies, I got so many things that I love to do right now, and like I don't need somebody to like fill that cup, like I can fill it myself. Or like, you know, like I know my love language is words of affirmation and acts of service, like they're like hand in hand. So like I know now, okay, this is what I have to do to love on myself. I got to give myself a bunch of words of affirmations, I got to give myself a bunch of acts of services. Like, I know these things that I need to do to love on myself. And like, I honestly wouldn't have known how to do these things if I wasn't single. And like I said, I'm not saying that you can't learn to find yourself when you're single, when you're in a relationship, because I've seen women do it and I love that for them, you know. But a lot of us, some of us need to step back from relationships and find ourselves by ourselves, if that makes sense. If I didn't know myself well enough, I could listen to everybody else telling me, oh, I need to go find a man, I need to go date a man, I need to go do this, I need to go do that. And if I sat up here and did that, I would probably find the worst type of man, because I'm just like rushing to get a man. But because I love myself, and because like I know the kind of man I want, I'm not gonna go out here and sit out here and just find anybody off the street, or just be rushing because of what people are saying. And because I spent so much time with myself, like I was able to figure out like what I wanted in a man too. Like, oh, this is something I want, so I'm not going to entertain somebody that's not like that. Or like, because I love myself, I'm able to not just pick up and get anything and everything that tries to like talk to me or get my number or whatever. Like, what are your standards? What are your boundaries? What are your like what do you want out of life? Like, I seen this post on Facebook, and I don't have kids, so I can't really talk too much about this, and I really don't want to like offend anybody or anything, so I hope I'm saying this like in the most graceful, lovely way ever. But she was saying like how she like really didn't want kids, and like how she's just having such a rough time. Like, she was saying she loved her kids, but like she probably wouldn't have chose motherhood if she knew it wasn't like all that cracked up to be, I guess. And like, you know, with social media and everything, like people can make things like look like glamorous or whatever, because it's so easy to like turn on the camera and edit out like the moments that are hard. And like people were like bashing her for like having those thoughts or like feeling the way she was feeling. And I'm like, why y'all bashing her? Because like she's just obviously just having a rough time. Like she probably does love her kids. It's probably just rough. Like, why is it so hard for people to accept that like women, not all women want the same things, or like maybe some women don't want kids right now, or maybe they want some kids later in their lives, or want marriage later in their lives. Like, why is that hard for people to accept? Like, why do they think that you're just supposed to like want those things, or like really have those things to make your life feel fulfilled or whatever? But that's not the point I'm trying to get at. Well, actually it is, but not really. But I always think like, and I'm not bashing the person, but like, what if she was able to like sit down with herself before she got the kids, or like before she like, you know, and was like had deep thought with herself and was like, do I want kids, or am I ready for kids, or am I a little too selfish right now for kids? Or like, and I'm not calling her selfish, because I say this word selfish as in like a good way. Like, I feel like I don't want kids right now because I'm a little too selfish, but in the later years I do want kids. But I mean in a good way. But like, maybe I'm like too selfish right now to have kids, or maybe that's not something I really want right now, or maybe that's what I want later on in life. Like, what if we were able to like sit and think with ourselves and be like, dang, what do I want out of life? Like, what am I missing? Or like, what do I feel like would make me happy in this moment right now? Like, what would make me feel fulfilling? What would be fulfilling for me? What would be like my purpose right now, you know? And if that purpose for you is to have kids and get married right now, that's good, you know? Go do that. Do it. Please do it. I'm a firm believer that everybody should do exactly what they want to do, okay? But if that's not your desire in the moment, that's okay. That is okay. And if you don't know, that's okay too. But don't just go do something just because you think it's like it's glorified on social media, or like glorified in general. And I'm not saying like, because maybe like in the moment, maybe that person did want whatever they have, like, or like kids, or like marriage or whatever, and they just realized that they didn't really want it. So I'm not saying like you're gonna make the perfect decision every time, you know, because sometimes we want things and then realize when we're in it that it's not all that cracked up to be. But it's also like in those cases too where we felt like we did want it, and we that's something that we like wanted to do. My hand's wet because I had to wet my beauty blender, by the way. It looks, yeah. I'm like, y'all probably gonna think like, why's her hand wet? The beauty blender. And I should have wiped it off with a towel, but oh, whatever. But anyway, in those cases too, like when we do make mistakes, why can't people be more sympathetic or kind to the person that's just trying to say like, hey, I'm having a hard time in my marriage. I'm having a hard time with having kids. I'm having a hard time doing this. Like, why do we have to bash them? Like, if that's just like not necessarily a mistake, but like the path they chose, and that's what they thought they wanted at the time, Why can't we be a little bit more compassionate and sympathetic and be like, oh girl, like me too, I am having a hard time. But you know, like, why is it so hard to do that, you know? So I get like both sides of it, because I'm like, though I do think we have to sit down with ourselves and be like, hey, what do we want out of life? You're not gonna always get it right every time, you know? But I think giving yourself enough time to sit down and ask yourself like, hey, what do I want? I still think that's important, because, you know, you can figure it out yourself, but if you make life-altering decisions just drastically based on like what you see, or like people glorifying certain things, like you're gonna be like, whoa, I didn't really want this. You know, taking the time being single and getting to know yourself. But even if you got to know yourself and you thought you wanted something and you did it, and now you're like trying to express that you like are having a hard time with something, being kind to yourself, and also allowing others to make mistakes, or allowing room for others to be like, hey, I'm having a hard time with this. Or in general, allowing others to not want to have the same things at the same time. Just because I'm almost 25 does not mean I have to have a ring on my finger, okay? It does not mean that I want that right now. Why do we all feel like we have to have the same things on the same time frame, or like in the same timeline, when life is a journey? This is not this is not a race. I'm not trying to race to the altar, babes. If I don't feel like I'm ready for the altar, why am I racing to the damn church? Like, girl, babe, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. No, I'm trying to live unapologetically by myself right now. And yeah, like, I'm just trying to do my own thing, and I think that's okay. So many things that I probably used to tolerate in a relationship that I would not ever tolerate now. Like, I promise you, I would not tolerate that now. But I would have known that if I hadn't stepped out and gotten into the relationship, and then gotten out of it and pondered on so many things that I did wrong in that relationship. But now I can look back and be like, man, I know I have high standards, but I don't think they're high. I think they're my own standards. They're not high, they're my standards. So they're not high, you know, they're not too much, because they're my standards. But if you might have your standards, and people might be like, oh, that's too high. Like, no, babe, that's not too high. These are my standards, and my standards only. Like, they're not too high. So people could say like, oh yeah, your standards are too high. They're not high, you know, they're my own standards. So it's called my standards, you know, they're not your standards. I love on myself so well that I don't want anybody in my space that doesn't love on me the same or better. But just because these things are accessible, or like these things may seem like they're a part of life, like having kids, marriage, all that, that doesn't mean that I want to access them, you know, if that makes sense. Like, just because they're there doesn't mean I have to have them, or like it's something that needs to be a part of my life at this moment, or like, you know, just because somebody is like trying to give me their number or get with me does not mean that I have to be nice enough to like give them my number, or nice enough to be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna take the first thing that kind of like hands me their number, or the first thing that kind of is nice to me. Like, why do I need to do that? I don't need to do that. I don't need to get the first thing that's just handed to me in life. Like, if that's not a part of my standard, or if that's not like something that I really want to do, then I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. When you're around the wrong person, they will bring you down, babe. They will bring you down. They will bring you down. Sometimes when you have somebody like around you all the time, they can really cloud your judgment on yourself. Like, it could really influence you and stuff. And that's why it's important to get with somebody that does elevate you, that does like is on the same wavelength you are on, like has the same ambition that you have, or even higher, or like better, or like somebody that's really like trying to work on themselves, or like trying to do better for themselves. Don't let nobody force you to do things that you don't want to do, or just because everybody around you is doing the same thing. Girl, be that person that's not doing the same thing, and see how far that gets you, because it's gonna get you far. You know, when I was living for other people and I was doing the same things that other people were doing, I was very unhappy. I was very unhappy with my life. I thought that because it was working for that person, that it was gonna work for me, and that definitely was not the case, babe. Like, it was not. It wasn't the case in my life. Like, it didn't get better just because, like, I'm not on the island, but it didn't just get better. My life didn't get better because I was, like, trying to be like other people. It got worse because I was trying to be like other people. But when I sat and I was like, girl, this is what I really want to do, my life got better because I did what I wanted to do. And I'm not going to let anybody bully me and force me into doing something they want me to do, or they want for their lives, or something they would have done in the past, or something they want to do now. Like, if you want to do that, go ahead and do it. I am rooting for you, I promise you, because that's what you want to do in your life. But don't tell me how to live my life. Don't tell me to go get a man. But my advice, and you can take it or leave it, because, you know, do it with love though. Do it because you feel whole enough and you feel like you're ready, and you feel like, you know, this is something that I do want for the next step in my life. Do it because you feel like you're ready, but don't do it just because you're lonely. You know, if you're in your single season and you're lonely, don't get in a relationship because you're doing it out of pure boredom or because you're lonely. Like, that's a quick way to get into mess. That is definitely like a quick way to get into like mess, and I don't want anybody to get into things that they thought they wanted just because they're lonely. Go out and find some friends, or my first thing, because like you can't also like try to expect your friends to fill that void, but my first thing I would say is spend some time with yourself. Find fun things for yourself to do. Go on dates by yourself first. Go on dates by yourself. Find your hobbies. Find things that'll keep you occupied. Shoot, talk to yourself. Sometimes I'm in my room alone and I be talking to myself. I don't think it's weird at all, because I just be like thinking and I just be talking. I'm talking to myself right now. Well, it seems like I'm talking to myself right now, but I'm really talking to a camera and you guys on the other end. But like, you know, find things that are gonna make you feel fulfilled or whole. That's much of what I had to say on the topic. I just gotta do my blush. This is the NARS blush. It's broke, but it's such a good blush, girl. Oh, and I put on my lashes. I forgot to say that, but I put on my lashes off camera. Such a good color for like my skin tone. So this is the finishing look. Get into this ponytail and the curls. Ooh, and the makeup. I'll link the lip color down below, but it's pretty much the same lip color in my makeup tutorial video, except this time I used the MAC Chestnut lip pencil, and I really like it. I hope I'm looking cute on camera, but it's really cute. Yeah, I love this ponytail. It's really giving, like, it's slanging and everything. Like, babe, can we talk about the inches? Okay, high ponytail is giving everything. Okay, I'm gonna come back and show y'all my outfit, and yeah, and then we can go to brunch. Ooh. Okay, I'll be back. Bye.